We'll wait here one more minute, 7:05, and we're rolling.
And definitely, any farmers out there, anything while I'm speaking, if there's any questions that are in the middle of anything, please reach out. Like I said, if there's anything I can answer, just let me know how I can help out. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody spending some time with us, and looking forward to a great year. So, a farming. So.
Excellent. Well, with that, Joe, I'm going to go ahead and get going here. So we
Wonderful.
have a continued educational series that we affectionately call the Hemp Growers Educational Series. Tonight's topic is called Harvest for Profits, and it's Tuesday, April 23rd, with a new time, 7 p.m. The goal in this conversation tonight is to discuss different techniques in harvest and how those relate directly to making sure your product is consumable for the market. We usually have Sarah Hermes on the line. She is one of our company of partners that we work with risk management consultant at Lockton Companies. They are one of the oldest companies in the world as it relates to agricultural insurance, and they are a thought leader in the hemp insurance industry. She's available to talk. She'll even talk you through the program if you signed up with someone else to make sure you've got the right plan in place for you as you move forward into your season. She's great, she's wonderful, and she's always available. So we have this information here. If you don't have a pen and paper and can't write it down, let us know. We'll make sure to send it back out to you. Tonight on the call, leading is our master grower, founder, and cannabis hemp extraordinaire, Mr. Joe Lean. Joe personally, and I mean this for the folks that are on the call, is a man of passion, integrity, commitment, and someone that I enjoy. Little over a year for me now, venturing into the hemp space. Joe is a second generational cannabis grower, and I want to repeat that second generational. Many folks on the phone tonight are generational crop farmers themselves, not many second generational cannabis growers walking around. Joe has been in the hemp space a little since about 2000, focusing on hemp and how it can work, and has grown and been a part of grows of a little over 25,000 acres. As he wants to clarify, that's not a hard number, and so his friends that may be listening to this, he wants to let folks know it's not a hard number, but he's had his hand in a lot of things. They say smooth waters do not make a skilled sailor, and that's why I love partnering with Joe. He has seen it, he has dealt with it, he has been through it. And that is why we are so excited tonight to have Joe go through Harvest for Profits. Now, I do want to say before I turn it over to Joe that as we were putting together this presentation, as you can imagine, you can go a dozen different ways depending on your setup, what you have, what your limitations are. And again, that's the value that Joe brings to the table is his ability to navigate through, especially for the first time farmers. If what you have is all you have, Joe can help you make the most of it. So much of the crop that is hemp is so much is involved once you get it down, and we cannot overlook that and study that through the summer as you grow to make sure you are prepared for the harvest. Joe is available all the time to help. He has an immense passion in making sure that folks understand what they're getting into, what they're being involved in. And there you can see in the picture you have in front of you is a proud papa, as sitting in front of our farm down in Demi, New Mexico, which started off at 60 acres. And when you turned around and woke up, we had 500 acres under cultivation. So without any further ado, I want to introduce Mr. Joe Lean, Hempton Farms Master Grower.
All right. Thank you for the introduction, Corey. Very, very, very generous of you speaking. So definitely. So I'm Joseph Lean, second generation cannabis grower. This is my third year growing hemp. This last year, we did a combined almost 1,000 acres of hemp between our New Mexico farms and Illinois farms. Next slide, this picture Corey's showing you is so there's very many choices of getting started with your hemp farm. Direct seed, seed starts, clones. Me myself, I prefer seed starts. I've farmed every which way down here in New Mexico. Um, it's kind of hard. A lot of these climates, southern, when you don't have more than 14 hours of time, of sunlight. It's kind of hard to do a clone. When you definitely your clone starts. you're gonna end up getting half the growth of what you normally would from a seed start. Direct seed's wonderful way to go too. It definitely is risky. I can tell you this year that we did clones this year in New Mexico. We did direct seed and seed starts. Some of our direct seed fields were incredible. Mother Nature come in right after we direct seeded and wiped us out on multiple fields. Like I said, I think myself the safest way is to do seed starts and as you can see this picture right here, and that right there, this was a field that actually was showing right here in a veg growth. I actually put this field in August 2nd right there. Um, this field right here was an 80-acre plot. It was phenomenal, one of our best fields, and that was from a seed start. So, and like I said, if anybody has questions on clones, seed starts, direct seeds, please jump in and ask me anything they need. And then you want to show the next slide there, Corey? You ready for the? All right. So this right here is a picture of almost ready.
Did
So
it
this is our
did it
flower
come
stage
through?
right here. Yeah, it come through. So this is another picture right here. This right here is about week 7 of vegetative growth. So sorry, flower growth right here. Um, as you can see in there, you can obviously see all the colas, and that's we're getting close right here, getting close for harvest. So you want to hit the next slide, Corey? When is it time to harvest? So what you guys are seeing right here are trichomes. So these are the crystals on the actual plant. So what you're seeing on the first one, the best way myself is get a magnifying glass. Not a lot of people in the industry do this. Most of most farmers end up pulling down their harvest before it's ready. And if you see your first photo right here, the clear trichome, that means your plant's starting to produce CBD content, and you can see how it's clear like a raindrop. Right there, you're going to be minimal. You're going to be in the 3 to 4% range of CBD. Second photo, cloudy trichomes. You're 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 developing more CBD. It's your plant's getting riper. Last one, your plant, obviously right there, you see that the trichomes will switch to an amber. That's when you're going to get the most CBD content out of your flower. It's time to harvest. Has anybody got any questions on that at all?
Hey Joe, when you're feeling the plant when it's in this stage, when it's in trichome production, does it feel tacky? Does it feel different? Can
It's,
you tell
I
any
mean,
noticeable change to the texture of the plant?
when you're in this, when you're getting ready, you're gonna feel your colas, your bud structures are gonna be thick. You're going to be feeling obviously these crystals right here are going to be very sticky. So I mean, when you're touching them, I mean those crystals are going to be very sticky in your hand. And like I said, that's been like one of the hardest things I've had to deal with is people trying to pull down their crops early. And literally when you pull when you're clear, you're going to get about 1/3 of the potential CBD content that can be in your flower. So I mean, this is one of your key post to harvest. I mean, this is one of the most things, right? You got to be really careful that you're not pulling down before everything's amber. It's because you're gonna cut your whole season short, and you're gonna lose out on a lot of money. So I helped a lot of farmers out this year down here, first time farmers that were pulling down, and it just things weren't ready. So in a matter of 2 weeks, once you see those clear trichomes, it's usually about a 2 to 3 week span before they'll go amber, and definitely one of the most very important parts of pre-harvesting, checking trichomes. So
Uh, If someone can, is there a question in the chat right now?
yeah, I see one up there. I can't log into it though, Corey. Can let me actually. Okay, what about trichome color versus THC? Um, all right, so I mean trichome color versus THC. Um, your genetics, you're not gonna. It's all the THC contents in your genetics. Um, and as for as for testing the THC, I would suggest myself, which I do, is on week 6, I start taking cuts of colas and sending them in on week 6 just for post harvest, just to know where my content on THC is. Very important, especially depends on what state you're in. If you're in a total compliance, total a Delta 9 and a THCA, definitely that's something you got to be real careful when you're doing a total. It's definitely not a I would suggest starting at week 6 when just doing multiple tests from week 6 all the way throughout harvest. So did that answer your question?
I think it was sufficient enough. If we ever
No,
follow up to that, please go ahead. And
understood.
I'm going to move on to the next slide, Joe.
All right, hold on. We got another one. Understood. We need to make sure THC is below total, and it depends on what state you are in too. So if you're on a Delta 9, definitely it's it just depends on what state and where you are on compliant. But I will definitely help out anytime you got. So all right, I got another one coming up real quick. Question. All right, let's next slide, Corey. Sorry. Um,
Joe, Corey, just give it about 1 second. I'm trying to get a hold of Kelsey. It looks like some of the settings in terms of the presenter. Corey, are you back
yeah,
now?
We're good.
yeah, I'm on a screen. I can't see. All I can see is everybody
Yeah,
that's on here.
just 1 minute, everyone. If they can, everyone can just be patient with us. We're
Yeah, no
we're even
problem.
even the, even the marketing team struggles with technology around here. You know.
Yeah, no problem. So,
Corey,
any farmers out there, like I said, if you guys got any questions, I'll
Let's call
answer.
it spade a spade. We switch platforms.
Yeah. So,
Is there
Yeah.
something wrong with I have not touched my computer. I just want everyone to know, and it is plugged in, but I have not touched my computer. Can you see my screen?
No,
no,
can't
you
see
have
it.
to represent. Corey, can you reshare your screen?
Okay, absolutely. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
no
you're
problem.
welcome.
And like I said, I'm the farmer. Corey's a much better speaker than me, but I enjoy being in the farm. So myself. So
Corey, is this your screen we're looking at now?
see, I'm
Yeah, that's Corey's screen.
Corey, can you click the
There we go. Are
presentation
we
here?
back
all
on?
right.
You're back.
Wonderful. Yep. Okay. So, and this is
Okay.
all right. So this is what number 9, right, Corey? It doesn't show me on. Anyways, what are my options? All right, gotcha. So,
Yep.
all
Yep.
right. So multiple
Here's the
multiple
next
ways.
question, Joe. Here's the next slide.
Okay, wonderful. All right. So multiple ways to harvest: columbine, whole plant harvester, formation ag harvesters. That's what. So we're right now we're dealing with harvesting biomass. So as you see right here, you see a columbine right here. Um, you want to go to the next slide there, Corey? Okay, so drying biomass key. So
Is
there's
it coming through?
multiple ways to dry biomass. Depends on the farm on what kind of production you're at. You're seeing a picture right here. This is some basic biomass, columbine, outside dried. This is something that you got to be if you're gonna come through a columbine. That's something you got to be really careful with. How you're seeing your pictures of this material needs to be tossed. It needs to be moved around. My suggestion, well, there's my suggestion honestly would be to be hung first before milled down to a product like this. It just depends on what your options is, and there's multiple different ways. There's companies out that actually can come out to your field that have dryers that can literally dry hundreds of thousands of pounds of biomass per day, very very reasonably priced. And myself, if you don't want to go that way, I would go in and And we'll get to the next slide, Corey. All right, sorry, I actually my like preparing preparing biomass storage. Let me step back though on this. So drying biomass, there's like I said, there's multiple ways of doing it. It just depends on what kind of quality of biomass that you're actually looking for. And like I said, there's companies that can come out and run it through dryers. Myself, I mean, you can drop it on concrete, obviously, what you've seen on the last picture. The key thing is if you're gonna go that right in columbine before things are wet, you want to make sure you toss your flour. You can't let your flour sit in big piles. Obviously, you're going to develop mold. Key thing is lots of air, lots of heat out there, um, and then obviously next step right here, preparing for biomass storage. What you see here is a 400-pound biomass sack. That's what we store all of our biomass in, and obviously you want to keep your storage of biomass dry after it's at this point. And our next one, Corey, let's go to the next slide. We ready? One more, Corey. All right, so we're on step 2. Options for smokable flour right here. So getting ready for harvest. Best way for harvest is hand harvest. Sorry, I've got a question in here real quick. So understood next certain THC. I'm used to columbines for grain. Are you setting up? So answering your question real quick. So columbines for grain. Um, just it depends on I mean what's your quality. I have a lot of people that are doing a biomass are taking and columbining your whole entire plant. Obviously, there's different ways you can strip your plant. Um, and for storage, I would not want to put it in a tank, a green tank at all. Definitely, you want it to be able to breathe, and I think you'd run into trouble. And like I said, my best suggestion would be super sacks, and I wouldn't put it in a tank. So if that answers your question, so moving on to getting ready to harvest, hand harvest. Yes, sir. Yep, no tank on the columbine. Getting ready for harvest. So right here's a picture of my son. Um, Harvesting for smokable flour. Definitely, only way to do it for quality is by hand. Um, we this year harvested roughly 400 acres by hand. Definitely a big job. So, um, Corey, we'll go to the next slide. Key thing is harvesting is hanging your plants. As you can see right here, here's a picture. Um, we've had some onion sheds, as you can see right here, and there's some giant fans in here. What we did was we string up a bunch of heavy gauge wire and had man lifts and did many multiple layers of wire. And as you can see right here, um, this barn right here, this shed, did about 10-acre blocks at a time. And key thing, like I said, it air movement and um, 3 to 5 days average on drying. And like I said, key thing is, I mean, it's key things not to have plants touching each other. Obviously, you see in this picture, there's so much hemp. Um, you definitely, I mean, you see how tight we've got things. You definitely want a lot of air movement in there. I mean, that's your key thing. You're gonna end up having a massive amount of flour with mold if you don't have a steady air movement in your facility. So yeah. Any questions on that?
Hey, Joe, I can see that Mark here has kind of another question. I think
Yeah.
he's clarifying a little bit on the tank and the combine. But
Yeah.
Mark, I would suggest, I think this is great for probably, a conversation with Joe personally,
Yeah.
in the next couple of days. And I'm sure that once you give him some more detail, he can really, share some of his expertise and what he's seen before. So just feel free to give us an email after this, and we'll make sure to put you in touch directly with Joe.
I'd be more than welcome to give you my personal phone number too, Mark, and go over some things. So, all right, Corey. So yeah, drying process. I'm not getting a good picture on this one coming out. All right, wonderful. So as you can see right here, this is another section in our onion drying facility that we converted into, obviously a hemp flower. You can see the big fans up top. Once again, you see everything hanging up. Key thing, once again, lots of air movement. Try not to let your flower touch each other. And like I said, key thing is just air movement. And then and obviously, when is it time? When is it time for your flower to actually? When is it going to be dry? So myself rule of thumb, I will when you can actually take one of these colors that you're seeing in this picture, and you can take the stalk and snap it. You don't want it to bend. You want it to get a nice clean snap. That's when your flower is ready. So next step after this, we don't have any pictures of stuff being in barrels. Myself, we were fortunate. We have facilities where we use onion bends. I use 55-gallon drums too. So our next process after this either went into these onion crates that you see the flour being hung on top of, or we use 55-gallon drums that we put the flour in, and that's something. Once you put this flour in too in a cure stage, you're gonna get it moistened. It'll naturally moisten back up on itself, and that's something that every day a huge process. I mean, we cured about 600 to 700,000 pounds of flour, and it's like I said, when you put it back in these bins, you need as a you need to burp them. Is that's what so when what that in details is, you need to go in, you need to toss the flour. You need to take the flour from the bottom of your bin, the bottom of your barrel. You need to toss it, get it air, and you need to let that material breathe for at least 20, 30 minutes a day. If you don't, you're going to get a terrible smell. It's going to give you kind of a fresh alfalfa smell, and you're never going to get a correct cure on your smokable flour, which is just key to selling your product at the end. So. And if anybody has questions on curing, it's a huge process, and I definitely like you guys can email me out, call me. It's not an overnight thing, so definitely. But like I said, I can help out anyways. So, you ready for the next slide, Corey? You there, Corey? Next slide.
As a slide loads too, I want to emphasize that these pictures that we're sharing are all of our own. Yep, I'm here. Yeah, I
Okay.
clicked it. Is
Cool.
it not coming
Yeah,
through?
it just barely did. So yeah, these
Hello?
pictures. Yep, it's come through, Corey. So more pictures of drying right here too, guys.
Okay.
Right here you're seeing so you're seeing like right here obviously you're seeing the onion sheds, and we this year we dry we I mean if you have the space, the ideal thing, like we had such a massive amount of hemp this year, we took whole plants and hung whole plants. The best way to cure and dry would honestly be cut, every branch off. It's going to dry a lot quicker that way. And obviously you've seen the orange netting. That's actually a construction fence that we wove flour in and out. And yeah, so like I said, it's just depends on your facility. My best results was hanging 3 to 5 days, and obviously a lot of airflow going through. Sorry, we're losing pictures again, Corey. We'll come back up to that screen again. So,
Can you guys hear me?
yep, I can hear you
Hello?
now. Yep, I can hear you now.
Hello?
I can hear you, Corey. Can you hear me
Okay, it could
talking?
be my internet connection.
No problem. So,
Okay,
all right.
yep, here we go.
So rehydrating right here. So what you guys are seeing is a picture of one of our facilities right here. So you've hung your flour, you've put it back in your bins, you've burped it, you've got your flour smelling good again. So at this point, you're getting ready to shuck. Myself, I like to go back in and rehydrate. So because you got to figure if you're going to take this flour and you're going to bring it back in, you're going to have a lot of dry product that's on a stem. So um, and myself, I like to go in and I've got some machines that I'll give you. They cost about $1,000 a piece. But if you see in these bins, and if you have, I even I had facilities that weren't as this picture that you're seeing right here. I actually made makeshift rooms just like this. I went and got tents and I got tarps and made sealed rooms. And I went in and got these hydrators from Ideal Air, and it's a machine that literally you can go in and type in the amount of humidity you want in the room. It's hooked up to a hose and a filter, and you can type in 62% humidity, and you let your product sit in there for about 48 hours, and it'll rehydrate from a dry flour back to a hydrated flour where you will not lose when you're shucking your material. If you shuck your material when it's dry, you're going to lose about 20 to 25% of your material. That's why I like to rehydrate before I do. Some people don't have the option of that just because of space. But like I said, just kind of a tip for me. I'd much rather make the space and take the 2 days than lose the 20% into shake. So, um, you want to go to this next slide, Corey? All right. So right here. So after hydrating, shucking for smokable flour. So you can see my guys down here. So what we're doing is we're taking off all the fan leaves on the flour, and we're taking everything off the stem. So we're doing it by hand, doing it with scissors. You can go in and this is the key step to doing smokable flour right here. Big process. We spent many a months. We started in September and we're just finishing right now, hand shucking all of our smokable flour for the year. So we had a great season, grew a lot of flour. So right here, like I said, this is key. Take off your fan leaves. Obviously, take your flour down off the stems. So and then you're ready for trimming. So there's many different options. Corey, you want to flip pages? There's what you see right here. We got a line up right here and behind. There's some T2s. There's many different trimmers on the market. I would suggest. This year we've used every trimmer out there. T2s we've had kind of a hard time with, and my suggestion would be Centurium. We've had a lot of luck with those, and there's a couple other machines that we could refer you to. But like I said, so that's kind of where we are from beginning to end. And Justin, so answering your question, I'm seeing you right there. How many people grew last year?
Joe, that was me just trying to gauge to see
Okay.
who was going,
Yeah.
and I
No,
actually wanted to to invite those guys as well.
for sure.
Mark, or if one of you guys would like to unmute your mic real quick and just kind of hop on and tell us about your guys' experience last year as well, and your harvest if somebody wants to come in. I think we could also possibly, Kelsey, can you unmute someone so they have to talk?
Yeah. So, like I said, guys, I'm not the best speaker, man. I love being out in the field. That's my passion, growing, and being on a tractor. And like I said, Corey's a way better speaker than me. So, um, but
Justin's
like
pretty
I
good there. Oh, we had someone come off mute.
said,
Um,
Go ahead with your
I wanted
question.
to ask, is Chris Bender with us here tonight? Chris, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Chris.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm here.
Chris, we're as we are discussing, some of these points, and Joe's done such a great job of just, really getting into this thing and showing a lot of these, how to go about this harvest process. But I was kind of, we were talking the other day, and I thought you made a really good point as well in terms of kind of managing your expectations of the product that you will finally go to market with at the end of the year, and managing that process and making sure that you then put the proper inputs uh, either into it or you don't put it into it based on what it's looking like you're going to get. And I wanted to kind of, if you can kind of speak to that again, I think people might get a little bit of value out of that.
Sure. No, for me, as I've come to learn hemp, I have a legacy tobacco background, which is a pretty high maintenance crop when it's in the field compared to some others as well. So there's a lot of synergy there, but even hemp kind of takes it to another level in regards to you're constantly making decisions throughout the course of a year. At the beginning of the year, the most important decision you're probably going to make all year is picking the right genetic, and understanding that you're going to give yourself, by picking the right genetic, lots of options as the year progresses. We just saw a presentation where we talked a little bit about biomass, we talked a lot about smokable flour, and the handling characteristics and the input costs, that go into that sort of thing. As a farmer in any part of the country, you've got to manage those input costs throughout the year. If Mother Nature takes over and gives you a particularly challenging year, if our friends with 8 legs decide to invade your field, and at any given point in the year, you're going to be constantly having to manage your input costs, whether it's pesticides, whether it's fertilizer, with the understanding that there's a path to profitability at every step, but it's about maximizing and being efficient at every step that
yeah,
leads you to that promised land. You can't get pie in the sky with this and say, I know day one I'm going to produce a smokable flower, that's going to be in that high end market, because your growing characteristics that are delivered to you out of your control may not provide that path for you. So you don't want to spend time, and a great example is, you had caterpillars or whatever attack your crop. You have a little bit of seed in your colas, whatever. You may not want to spend the time and the money and the investment to go down that path of smokable flower, because it may not be realistic for you. In that event, limit your expectations, limit your costs, and go for biomass and still make a profit. And that's the thing that I
Right.
think is unique and sometimes challenging. Like I said, as I talk to people that are at this, in 2019, the people that made mistakes were hand bucking stuff that had caterpillars in it and seeds in it. So I mean, those are the things that I think, with a little bit of education, there's a path to profitability with this product, no matter, with the right amount of education. So.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, Chris. And I think, Joe, if you wanted to, tell us a little bit more, I mean, have you ever seen or you're done yourself, and maybe not, or I imagine you've heard of other people doing it at the minimum. I'm just wondering, have you seen it, or have you seen people pivoting to where, they started off and the goal was, hey, I want to produce a premium smokable flower, but then after a month and a half or 2 months into the season, it was clear that, hey, based on the conditions I'm seeing as a farmer, it makes more sense to prepare for, only an oil extract or only a biomass. And therefore, maybe some of the planning I did for a hand trimmed harvest now doesn't need to be a hand trimmed harvest. And I don't need to worry about some of those things. And now I'm going to move to this other thing. Have you seen that?
I've personally dealt with it multiple times myself, and I've seen it. I mean, definitely, you never know what Mother Nature is going to do to you. So, and then there, and speaking on biomass, and biomass is a wonderful way to make money. And this year, I'm dealing with a lot of farmers this year that they're going to go out and they're going to go out and they're going to cut colas off for a little bit of smokable flour. Take all your, you'll go in and hand harvest, go in and cut all your choice colas off, and that's a really big thing this year. Is if you have the quality, go in, take your top colas off, and then biomass the rest of your field. So that's definitely that's a way to go. I mean, this year I'm going to be doing the same thing, and like I said, I mean, ultimate goal is obviously trying to get the most money out of your crop, and I mean, we've dealt with every problem there is out there. You never know what's going to happen. So, I mean, you're dealing with wind, rain, bugs. I mean, bugs were vicious this last year. I mean, we had massive amounts of caterpillar damage this year. Everybody across the country seen caterpillar damage this year, so definitely, Chris was right on the money. Definitely with everything. But like I said, I see a lot of people this year, that can take their top colas off. Definitely. I mean, we're going to do the same thing ourselves. And but obviously, this market's getting to be is it needs to be mechanical. Everybody's seen prices this year. Prices dropped drastically. So whatever we can do to be as mechanical and cheap on harvest, by far. So 100%. There's a ton of different options out there. So and that's what Chris was saying. Genetics are everything. So it's definitely, I mean, from start to finish, your genetics, number one, you got to have good genetics. So,
Is there any other questions coming on the board at this time?
I think Mark was willing to share with us, but we're having some audio challenges. So
uh,
I think what we'll do is we'll keep going for now. I'm trying to see what we can do. Um, Mark, if you can hear me, try and just click on that little mic button till it's green. I'm sure. If not, then it's some other technical thing that I'm not sure we can handle right now. But we'll definitely connect with you after. That's for sure.
and definitely like for anybody on here to out, like, my name's on the website, my name and number on there. And like I said, I'm more than happy. Like, and teaching someone how to cure smokable flour, or even just, I know a short time right here on this, there's hundreds of questions to ask. And I definitely would love to, if you guys need anything, please reach
And
out, email
and
me,
Joe,
call me. So, yeah.
Joe, was that a big part of your experience as well? I mean, I'm sure you had a lot of mentors and a lot of people, who shared tricks of the trade. At the same time, it is kind of an industry that is, historically been kind of low key and people have kept to themselves. But I think now as we move into, a very legalized and a normalized, kind of state of affairs, that there's a little bit more open sharing, but still, I think there's a very big learning curve, and being partnered with people that are able to walk you through a lot of these things is probably one of the best things that you can have as a farmer, and even if you're an experienced farmer, just having more people to talk to. I mean, in almonds, the industry that I come from,
Hmm.
you still talk to your competitors on a weekly basis. You're all competing for the same
Yeah.
thing at the end of the day to sell your almond crop, but we, at the same time, we still have to talk to each other and share and learn. Has that been a part of your experience as well?
Yes, definitely. I mean, and that's the thing is, I'm not going to BS anybody at all. I mean, I mean, me coming out in my first year, I didn't have a great year. I ran into water problems, and like obviously everybody knows what a pan is, and didn't rip fields right, and ended up hitting the hard pan, and I mean, there's 100 different things that can go wrong planting, and now it's getting a little bit better down here in New Mexico. I mean, there's still a lot of, you know, myself, I'm an open book. I'm here to help. I mean, that was one of our things this year is, I mean, we had our competitors that were doing massive amounts of hemp too, and I mean, these guys were out there trying to pull down early, and myself, I mean, I don't know everything out there, and I'm willing to share anything, to help out the next man. So, but have I seen it in the business? Not yet, really. Like right now, I'm still seeing. I mean, it's almost. I'm still seeing probably 5/8 to 3/4 of the people out there just they don't want to give up information, and like I said, that's something that we do. We consult for free. Um, and I mean, I'll come out to your farms, and like I said, there's anything that we can do. And then the farmers I work with too are great down here that we've partnered up on. And like I said, my cannabis background and obviously in farming background now for 3 years is just, I mean, it's made a wonderful combination. So, I mean, we've got an excellent schedule for food. Um, we've got some products that we finish off that, like we can, I mean, just depends on, what angle you're going at. But like I said, I've got a product that'll finish you off and, increase your yields and yeah, so there's 100 different ways how to grow this plant, and I mean one of the biggest things that I've noticed on farmers is doing too much, So hemp's a very resilient plant. So, um, and but yeah, so like I said, that's where I'm at. And if there's any, like I said, feel free anybody out there to reach out, conversate with me, email me, call me, and go from there. So.
Awesome. Corey, can we get a quick, a little bit of a market update of what you're seeing in the market lately, and if you have anything on that?
In regards to the smokable flower and biomass markets.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe just the smokable, if that's what you
I'm,
have the latest
I'm,
on, or just what you're seeing.
I'm,
You're out there calling, hitting the phones, thousands of shops every week. So I just
Yeah,
wanted to see what the deal was.
yeah, it's
well,
been it's been an it's been an interesting, especially when you take a snapshot at the last 4, 5, 6 weeks here with COVID. As you know, I think we were overly concerned that we were going to see a dip in sales and a dip in value in the hemp flower, but it's actually been the opposite. You're seeing that the retail stores that are even shuttering are looking for alternative ways because the consumers that are coming in and purchasing smokable flowers or purchasing any product with CBD are continuing to make those purchases. And some of the early market data that's coming out is suggesting that folks are actually picking up products more times each week, going up to if they purchase a plot product, whether it's lotion or it's smokable flower, they're using it upwards of 5 times. And then what I think is really encouraging to the aspiring farmer is that they're starting to go cross category. Justin, you're starting to see people that dabbled into the smokable flower maybe pick up a hand lotion, and that's really been encouraging. And one of the biggest challenges in our industry right now is the lack of transparency on how much product is out there, how much weight is a term commonly used is in the marketplace. And what you're starting to see is quality is still beginning to remain supreme. And as so many farmers put their best quality product first, you're starting to see the market demand quality product. And for people that take time again to properly store, properly harvest their product, that they can really remain consistent throughout the season. And I know that my team in particular, as they're reaching out to folks across the country, they're actively asking for samples. They're eagerly looking at new strands. The market is becoming more educated when it looks go much into it in this call, but the terpene profile are starting to be in the competitive scape for the consumer and also the retailer. And what I think is most promising for us as an organization and for the partners that decide to choose our genetics is that they're coming back. They're coming back to ask, "Do you got more?" And more strands. I know when we started, we were going to not be what's called the broker in the industry, but that's what we've become in quality country as we've had a pretty dedicated team the last 4 or 5 months, and you're starting to see it come into what they call the dry season is not a lot of hemp production, or at least the indoor hemp production hasn't caught up.
No.
So I for one am on how the market has gone and
Corey,
where it's going to
Corey,
go, and especially as
can you
more
hear me?
markets open up, Justin. I think it's important to note that a lot of the data that we have is fragmented. Yes.
Corey, you're breaking up pretty bad. We're missing, like, a couple
Hello.
seconds here and there. Um, But I think Joe, did you have anything else? Did you have
No,
anything
that
else
No,
that
was
you
great.
wanted to say
I
about
Keep it in
deal
a
with
row.
I deal with the market a lot myself, and this year definitely started off pretty slow. And a big cause was the FDA this year. There's a lot of mixed up stuff going on, and then obviously I've seen the market. I deal with sales a lot too myself, and the biomass market's definitely coming back. Like I'm starting to see, distillate prices starting to come up. People are starting to, run a lot of material right now, and I definitely see the market coming back myself. But the bottom line is, I mean, I'm not here to BS anybody. I mean, you got to look next year is myself. I mean, I'm predicting biomass is going to be between 40 and 50 cents. So, and I mean, that's what everybody's got to be prepared for. So, and just like I
still,
said,
still,
it's
still a really good return for a farm operation, to be
one
honest.
100%. I mean, that's
Yeah.
Fantastic.
so, yeah, that's, I mean, even
Joe, and
I've
just
got
for
my
everyone,
calculator even down at 40 cents is just a phenomenal, per point, year. So
yeah.
definitely.
And Joe, from your perspective, where are we for some of the people that are, maybe first time farmers or potentially looking to farm? Where are we in terms of the cycle of, when if they're going to go for seed starts or if they're going to, grow from seed, when does a decision really need to be made for this season,
So,
to really make the season?
so myself, I mean, down, it just depends on what climate you're in, but honestly, I mean, depends on and what you're going after. Obviously, biomass. Myself, if I'm doing a biomass field, I'm going in the last week of June myself. So I'm going to try to get a field that's uniformed, that's going to be finishing out between five, right around that 5 foot mark, uniformed. Even smokable flower, like a lot of people are going in the ground very early. I've got farmers this year that are wanting to go in the middle of May, and I mean, these plants get huge, and I mean, once you go on the ground in May, and I mean, it's a hell of a job. I mean, that's another thing is, I mean, I've tried to direct farmers that they want to go on May and do smokable flower, and they want to put things on 48 centers, and I mean, if you go in the ground in May, you need to be on a minimum of 6 foot centers, and it's gonna be a job. Like I wouldn't like you're gonna need chainsaws to cut these things down. I mean, you're gonna end up with 4 inch stalks, and just it's
Yeah,
a lot of work. So, like I said, my best results this year, I planted at the end of May. I planted all through June. I planted in July, and like I said, I even did a 100 acre plot August 2nd, and I did phenomenal on seed starts. August 2nd was one of our best fields. Was beautiful. These guys actually seen pictures on there, and had phenomenal results. So, and like I
got it.
said,
So real quick, if you were planting that, if you wanted to hit June as a start date, now let's assume that you're
last
not
week
a
of June,
not
last
a
week.
not a a industry veteran like yourself. So
Yeah.
when would I want to have my seed procured by? Is that next
So,
week?
so,
That way I have a
so,
guarantee and stuff.
so if you're going to be doing seed, yes, I would be getting on seed immediately. So if you're going to be doing seed starts, I would want so it typically takes a seed start hemp plant roughly 21 to 28 days to be mature enough to go into a planter. Direct seed. I mean, I've done wonderful on direct seed too. So, but once again, direct seeds. I mean, Mother Nature. I mean, this last year I did direct seed, and there wasn't supposed to be any water, no storms, nothing. And I mean, we had a freak storm come in and literally put 150,000 dollars in seed into the ground, and we had a storm that come through and just gave you that hard layer of crust on top, and we lost. And then I had direct seed farms that we did that were just phenomenal. So myself, like I said, my suggestion as a first time farmer to be safe would be go with seed starts. You're gonna get twice the yield out of your plant what you're gonna get out of a clone. And it's the way to go. It's the best success I've had in the last 3 years. The growth is just very vigorous, and I mean the key thing is just checking your fields, and making sure you don't have that hard pan, making sure your fields are ripped properly. And but like I said, I would be on seeds here within the next 30 days maximum. So
Got
get
got
ready.
it.
So.
Well,
Like I
thank you,
said, if
Joe.
there's
Appreciate
anybody out there that's got questions, please, like, there's so many different things we can go over, and like I said, there's 100 different things on every field's different, and it all just depends on, I mean, are you dealing with clay? Are you dealing with sand? I mean, I've got fields that start out sandy and then go into a clay, and like I said, every field's different, and like I said, we're here to help out anything we can do.
Well,
So,
Joe, I have
so
to say that we're as a marketing team on this side, we're extremely happy to have you. That way, we have infinite ideas and possibilities because I don't have to think too much because you are a library, sir.
no,
So
I
we're
appreciate
gonna
it. So,
we're gonna keep on taking up as much of your knowledge as we can. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who did come. Typically Corey is the one to close these things. I don't know if I can close it out as well as him, but we're super excited for this coming season. We're excited to continue to partner with people, and we had a couple of different members here with Joe and Chris making some great points, and so we will be sending you guys an email with this recorded webinar. That way you can go through it again. If you still have questions, which I'm sure, like Joe said, there's tons of other nitty gritty details and all these things from being an experienced farmer in this particular crop and other expertise with people like Adam Trado, who is our vice president of farming, and just in terms of overall creating a real agricultural operation. So we're more than happy to help with everything. We're more than happy to help with all your seed needs and your genetics and making sure